All right. This is Heaven Gate, Hellgate the movie, Act 6 from 2011. Last time on Heaven Gate, Act 5, 4.7 billion years ago on Mars, Mabus forced Demonic to kill his own wife and son. For this crime, Demonic was trapped in the form we know today. Mabus was frozen in the ice on Mars until he was found and brought to Earth. This is the story Demonic told, and now it's up to Neil to slay the newly resurrected Mabus. And we take ourselves back once again to the Lake Eureka High Security Army Base. Our whole gang is present. Wait, how can Mabus be stronger than God? His family had a ritual that allowed for power to be passed on to their children. Over generations, it built up until one was born with a massive amount of power, Draco Mabus. But if he's stronger than God, doesn't that mean he can do anything? He does not have control over creation like God does. For that, he'd have to go to heaven, and only the dead or immortal can enter heaven. But if you were to measure God's holy energy and Mabus' demonic energy, Mabus' would measure nearly twice as much. Neil has to fight that guy without his sword? Actually, that's not all you have to worry about. Mabus has a special ability. He can possess the bodies of the dead and control them. We've confirmed that Mabus has turned all the soldiers at the Groom Lake facility into living dead.
Zombies!
I thought he could only say zonk. Actually, he can say most words that start with Z.
Zimbabwe!
His own army. I may have gained my Slayer strength, but without the Energy Dragon or God Slash, I don't know if I can handle an army on my own. Is anyone going to ask me about this case?
Zunk!
Click, click. This is the sword you used to fight me. The Jaeger Sword Mark III. A substantial upgrade from the sword I used against you, able to bestow the wielder with all the powers and abilities given by the demon-slaying Jaeger Sword, minus the ability to actually slay an immortal demon. Perfect. With this, I can take out the zombies and go after Mabus. That's not the plan. As you know, the sword was originally created to train me so that I could take over demon slaying. Yeah, until I beat you in a fight. You won? But he's so and you're so you said that already. Bam. Don't scare her. Anyway, the enhanced speed and strength of the technology was used in Afghanistan and Iraq and Libya, not to mention being the key to the quick victory we recently had in the war against North Korea. The technology's use in the form of a sword has not been deployed in combat, but a small unit here under my command has been trained in using these weapons, including Staff Sergeant Moody. Cool. What color does your hair change to? White. Besides the Master Sergeants, everyone's hair turns white. It seems only Jaegers get a unique color. If Mabus isn't immortal, can't we just drop a nuke on him? We had such weapons on Mars, but none of them could take out Mabus. Besides, with this being his last year in office, the president doesn't want to be known as the one who nuked American soil. We're getting a little off topic here. Right. Time to lay out the plan. Heaven Gate, Hellgate the movie. Act 6. And we got a flashback to a scene from February 23rd, 2008. Bloomington, Illinois. 1 week later, the day of the battle. Courtney. He's already gone. I'm gonna be late. I gotta hurry. Bye. I was always by his side before, but instead he takes her. I want to come with you. Jenny, you can't. You said it yourself. I'm ready to become Meister. That means my sword skills are the same as yours when you were slaying demons. With a Jaeger sword, it'll be like 2 demon slayers are going after Mabus. All right. Why couldn't I go? Give me a sword, I can fight. The wind disagrees. Might just swing a baseball bat around blindly. I wonder if they make a Jaeger bat. Nevada. Inside this very spacious helicopter. Where is Mr. Demonic? He's not coming. All right, when we get in there, you don't have to come. But it's okay. I won't make you face Mavis. Yes, but where is he? Well, Bloomington, Illinois, Illinois State University dorms.
Zern, a zern zern, a zern 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 zern.
What's he saying? He's saying you remind him of his friend Demonic. I am Demonic.
What the hell? Zern!
Back to the helicopter. What? What's with the costume? It's the uniform for my dojo. Yeah, about that. If you teach German swordsmanship, why is it called a dojo? It's not Japanese. Jaeger Dojo sounds weird. It's one of the names that sounds better the more you hear it. I've been hearing it for 3 years and it still sounds weird. We're approaching the base camp, the Groom Lake facility, Area 51. The helicopter lands. Got lots of the undead soldiers and base camp. The enemy stands below. They are gathered outside the castle walls. They are alert to our presence, but are motionless. What is that smell? Our enemy. They're rotting. Up the hill. All right, formation. Everyone lines up. Some of you may have had friends or family that worked at that base. Let me assure you that they are dead. If you were unfortunate enough to run into someone you know, do them a favor and put them to rest. Am I clear? Sir, yes, sir. Swords on. Click, 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 click. Woof, woof, whoosh, whoosh. Whoa. Go ahead. Click. Whoosh. Wow. Are you going to transform? Not yet. Wait a minute. If that was Neil then, this is Neil now, then... Ugh. Dragon Squad, front and center. Line up. Take this, you'll need it. Ready? Throws off his coat. Yeah. Ready. All the swords up. Energy. Energy gathering. Dragon. Boom, 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 boom. Just a whole wave of energy dragons heads down the hill. Whoa. And just starts ripping through the soldiers, clearing a path. Go now! Neil and Jenny go. Meister's speed is amazing, even though he isn't transformed. Running through the clearing. Charge! The rest of the soldiers go in. The undead soldiers go in. The military, the undead. Ching! Slash! Slash! Ah! Warzone! Just battle everywhere. I'll go more in depth on this in the commentary. Boom. Neil and Jenny still running. Meister, I think we're gonna hit a dead end. Jump! What? Grab. Gah! Jumped on a face. And into the castle walls. Ching! Slash! We're in! Come back safe. Jumping from wall to wall. How do we find him? I can feel his demonic energy. He's just up ahead. Where? Ah, so you finally show up. Neil Jaeger, the Demon Slayer. You must be Maebus. I am. And what brings you here? Pulls out his sword. Click. Eyes turn blue, hair turns gold. I'm here to slay you. Fan art. We got this from Ray Mowdy. Oh, tilt your heads, y'all. Then we got this extra piece I drew of all the Heaven Gate honeys looking hot. Next time on Heaven Gate, Act 7, Neil and Jenny versus Maebus, the explosive fight. Credits. Art and story, Nathaniel Yeager. Cloud images provided by Rachel Dunn. For daily updates on the process of the next issue, like Hellgate on Facebook, and be sure to look for Hippo the Penguins page too. That's defunct. They are now the same page. It's just the Yeager Comics page now. I combined them. All right, commentary. So this was a fun cover to do. Again, I really was taking advantage of the Photoshop layers. Each one of these characters was a separate drawing, and then I just kind of organized them the way I wanted them. I started doing that glow effect on transformed hair, although I hadn't quite perfected the way I would do it now. They still have black outlines to their hair, or at least darker. Probably not black, but like a darker version of their hair color. And you know, if their hair's glowing, it shouldn't be darker, it should be lighter. And I would get that down a lot better later. Face off are two sides. I think it works. Okay, so we're back to this scene again. I wonder, did I draw this again or just copy and paste? I wonder. I actually don't know. Because this is like the same establishing shot from the last issue. This is a nice shot. I think the last issue, the way I decided to show, like, get everyone back up to speed on who's involved in this room is I just drew like headshots of everyone. I like this a lot better. You can actually see how they're situated at the table. Obviously it's a little rough, especially like the angle of this table doesn't match the angle of the room, but you know, it lets you know where everyone's at and who's all involved. So it's a nice concept, even if the execution isn't perfect. This is interesting. So this actually gets a little bit retconned, and I could probably explain this away as Demonic would not have known exactly how the Maebus clan passed power on. And the reason why that it got retconned is, again, at this time, I didn't have much of Maebus's childhood thought out. The last issue, issue 5, was really the only backstory I had. It wasn't until Kay joined Yeager Comics as an editor and got really into the character of Maebus and started asking more questions about him, that I had to start brainstorming, like, all right, well, let me think more about him. And that's what led to eventually issue 12, which goes into Maebus's childhood. And obviously we'll get to that later. But this part still, like, right, his family had a ritual that allowed the power to be passed on to their children. That is correct still, if you read issue 12. This part is the part that I've kind of retconned. Over generations, it built up until one was born with a massive amount of power. Not the case once we get to issue 12. Maebus was not born with this power, he obtained this power, which is true for anyone who in the Maebus clan, they would be given the power, not that they were born with it. But again, I'll go more into that in issue 12, but the real life reason is because I hadn't thought that much about it yet. The in-universe, I would say, is just Maebus probably just would not have been that privy to the actual workings of the Maebus clan. This, I always love this reveal because we've had Hippo for a while now, and he goes,
Zark, 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 Zark.
I love the idea that he can actually say most words that start with Z, and it starts with
Zombies.
I thought he could always say Zonk, and he can say most words that start with Z. I love Hippo. We get some peak goofage with Hippo in this in Heaven Gate. And this, where Brian's just like, I got this case here. I've been holding it this whole time. They were going to ask, and Hippo's like, oh, I'll ask. He walks up, and he points and he goes, Zonk. Zonk. Yes, this is the Jaeger Sword Mark III. So if you remember from Hellgate, we had the Jaeger Sword Mark I, which was the military's attempt to recreate the capabilities of the Jaeger sword. It doesn't have holy energy, it uses electrical energy, and it can't slay demons, but it does give you a big power up like the Jaeger sword does. And this was to train Brian so that he could take over as Demon Slayer, which didn't work out because Neil was definitely more experienced at Demon Slaying, was able to win that match and prove himself to be the rightful Demon Slayer. Of course, the military wanted to replace Neil because they want a soldier in the position, not some random teenager. So this is Mark III. What about Mark II? Well, we actually will get to see that later, but it's a slight redesign. The eagle's a bit more defined. That's probably just more aesthetic than helping the design. And I went with this more diamond shape for the center. It's a screen, really. It's a screen. It shows you when it's on. It displays text. Of course, in Mark I was more circular. This one's more angular. And of course, it's called the Jaeger sword. I don't think it's explained in Heaven Gate why it's called the Jaeger sword and not the Jaeger sword, because Neil's last name is Jaeger, Jaeger. It's called the Jaeger sword, which, oh, that's so weird. It's my last name. Not because it's named after me in universe. It's supposed to be named after Chuck Yeager, who was the first man to fly a plane faster than the speed of sound. That's true in Heaven Gate and in the real world. I like this, a repeat of the and joke from a couple of issues ago, but this time he's like, you already said that, and yeah, Kiana is very quick to like be scared or shocked, and Jessica is very protective, so she immediately just beats the shit out of Neil for shouting at Kiana. And here we reveal that Jaegers, when they transform, they get different colored hairs. Neil's turns gold and Brian's turns orange, and we know that the original Demon Slayer Bannon, his hair turned blue, but everyone else who's not a Jaeger, when they use one of these swords, their hair just goes white. And I did that one to kind of set the Jaegers apart, and also because I didn't want to have to think about all those different colors to do on all these different characters, and also because I kind of have a color scheme going in terms of, because it's not just hair that changes, eyes that change too. And so there's like a connection for each Slayer on how their hair and eye color go, because you have Bannon, who had green eyes, blue hair. That blue hair translates to Neil's blue eyes, and then Neil has the gold hair. Neil's gold hair translates to Brian's gold eyes, and the orange hair, and that orange hair would have translated to Neil's granddaughter, because again, I was going to make a third series called Hellgate Final Outbreak. That is definitely not happening now. But Neil was going to have a granddaughter who was going to be the main character of a future series, and her eyes were going to be orange, and her hair was going to be green, which is the color of the original ancestor's eyes. So it's going to be like a cycle. A color cycle of those colors. And I didn't want to fuck that up by having to worry about all these other soldiers, so they just get white hair and gray eyes. And yeah. This is a recreation from, what issue is that? Is that issue 32 of Hellgate, Neil fighting Brian. Here we see Courtney kind of in bed in the morning after Neil's already gone off on this mission. little subtle environmental storytelling. Courtney's only wearing panties, and that appears to be a wrapper for... Let's go with mustard. Let's go with a packet of mustard. Maybe they were eating hot dog. Someone ate a hot dog in that bed. Anyway, and then we got this flashback to why Jenny was able to convince Neil to let her go along. And then we got the helicopter. Definitely a better looking helicopter than that tank from issue 1. And again, yeah, very spacious inside of that. Also, we get to see that Brian has a tattoo. It's a little heart, and it says Donna. That's his wife's name. Doesn't get brought up much, but it's a little subtle part. He does have a tattoo with his wife's name on it, and that is actually based off my actual brother. My brother has a tattoo with his wife's name on it. We see that Demonic did not come along on this mission because he's still afraid to face Mavis. Again, this building here is actually based off an actual dormitory for ISU in Bloomington.
So yeah, Jesse's watching this TV and says, "This is your right. That's your right. This is your left. You're gonna die." This is a reference to Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the weird puppet show that Meatwad was watching one issue. Yeah, like this little funny. We got like Peak Hippo in this issue where he's just like, "Oh, it's like, what's he saying?" And he says, "You remind him of Demonic." It's like, "I am Demonic," and so Hippo's response then is to lick Demonic's eyeball. Back to the helicopter, we get some deriding of Neil's weird outfit, and also that he calls it the Jaeger Dojo. This is a little bit of character here where Jenny's like, I don't know, it sounds dumb to me. Like, she's got a pretty intense like adoration for Neil. I don't think she would be that negative towards him, but I don't know. I was just playing it for laughs. These clouds in the background, let's talk about them. So the idea is that Mavis's demonic aura kind of is so potent that it actually fucks with the atmosphere around him if he stays anywhere too long. And that results in these like thick, dark purple clouds. And these clouds are actually a photo my friend and author Rachel Dunn took outside of her home here in Peoria. These weird, like, I can't remember what they're called. I've since looked up what they were and learned about them, but they look like the underside of like orbs or something. It's really cool. And I put a purple filter over it. Now, I use these same fucking PNG of clouds for every background, and I just kept stretching it to fit the different moments, and it does not always look very seamless. I like this here. This was, wow. This is pretty nice. You see, my colored pencil work has gotten quite a bit better since issue 1. So you can see, like, this is, I was trying to kind of show like the viewpoint, right? So we're on top of the hill, they're at the bottom of the hill. There you can see him at the bottom of the hill, and we're looking down the hill on this, and this we're looking up the hill, and there's Brian up there. Look at their shirts, and my color pencil certainly hadn't been perfected by any means, but it'd gotten better. And we got everyone transforming. We see most people get the white hair, and then Brian gets his orange hair. Jenny transforms and gets her white hair. I love this, because I hadn't shown what will Neil look like transformed now that he has so much longer hair than he did in Hellgate. This was his hair in Hellgate, and when he transformed, it stuck straight up like he had like Vash Stampede or Bart Simpson hair. Well, now he has this really long ponytail, and I like that Brian's trying to figure out like what's that going to look like, and this is his vision of it, and I find that hilarious. Of course, we see later in the issue that isn't what it does, but I still like the idea. And then I like this quite a bit. The whole dragon core starts to do an energy dragon technique. If you remember that from Hellgate, it's where you draw a bunch of energy up into the sword, strike the ground, and use the ground as a conduit as this dragon kind of snakes its way through the ground. We got a pretty okay viewing of it at the end of Hellgate. It certainly was a long road to me trying to actually displaying it the way it appeared in my head. I think this blows that last Hellgate appearance out of the water, especially because you got so many just boom, 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 boom. Just, you get the idea that they're snaking their way down the hillside. And then they just rip things apart, and now you can see like they're just kind of snaking their way through the crowd and creating an opening for Neil and Jenny. And Neil and Jenny go in. The soldiers go in. We get lots of fighting. See a difference. This guy is alive, he gets cut, there's blood. This guy not alive, he gets cut in half, and it's just like this black, just rotting goo just coming out of these guys. They've been dead for so long, and you can see, I put thought into how each one died. So like you can see this guy got his arm cut off, so there's dried blood all over that sleeve. After that, he was shot, but he was already dead at that point, so those wounds didn't bleed. And this guy here, his killing blow was this shoulder gash here, and that blood all dried. And now we see like near that wound, the flesh is rotting as well. This guy in the hazmat suit was from issue 1. He got slashed in the throat, so you see he's starting to rot there. But all these gunshot wounds were after the fact, so they didn't bleed. And then this, I think this took me like a week. So this is back, of course, I'm doing this still on pencil and paper. So I had this drawing board that actually was given to me by my mechanical drafting teacher when I graduated high school, along with some like tape strips. And so I didn't use it too terribly often, but I would whenever I was doing a 2-page spread. I would take 2 pieces of paper, I would tape them together in the center, and then tape them to the board. And that is what I would work with. And you can actually see, if you look closely at these parts in the middle, you can see where the tape was, because it kind of affected, the color pencil as I colored over it. Of course, you can't see it up here because that was digitally added later, that sky. So yeah, this took a week. I wanted to show this like big hectic battle happening, and it's still probably not as dense as I probably initially envisioned, but I mean, you reach a point where you just don't have the energy to keep like putting little details in. So I'm pretty proud with just how much I did. It doesn't feel like I lazied out of it at any point. And just, we got swords swinging, swords clashing. We got some zombies dying. We got some soldiers dying. I also put a lot into work in trying to make sure that characters were diverse ethnically. Although I will note that I was not, and I think I realized this around this point too, that I had yet to show a single female soldier. And someone pointed that out to me, and I was like, shit, you're right. And I don't know how soon this happens, because I don't know if this is when I figured it out or if it was later. But I very quickly started to almost exclusively draw female soldiers to kind of make up for that, to kind of try to like course correct on that in future scenes. But and of course there's some Easter eggs here. You probably noticed one already. Right here, boom, we have a pea shooter from Plants vs. Zombies, because I mean there were zombies, so I'm like, fuck it, let's put a pea shooter in there. He's shooting this guy in the face. I love that. And then there's another one back here. See if how we'll zoom in. Oh yeah, zoom in does not like my webpage. Gotta go back. Like changes pages on me. Hold on, we're almost there. Almost there. Boom. We also have a tall nut back here. There's also a tall nut. Staring this guy down. Oh god, now I gotta try to. Oh, there we go. That's 100%. And I think we're. Let me just refresh and find the page wrong, because that's. But yeah, I mean, this was probably back when I was playing like Plants vs. Zombies for the first time on my iPhone way back. Yeah, 2011. So yeah, this is when I had first gotten an iPhone. That's one of the first games I put on my iPhone. And yeah, Neil and Jenny get in. I do kind of like this. This showing like them like jumping from rooftop to rooftop for Mavis. This is a nice angle. Like there's some nice angles here. We can tell Mavis is looking up at Neil. Neil's looking down. Neil, I mean, I definitely can do this better now and have done it better since, but this was still a pretty big achievement, this really cool transformation for Neil. It turns the sword on, first we see his eyes turn blue, and we see the gold light kind of travel down his ponytail, and boom, we see Neil transformed for the first time in Heaven Gate. Definitely was proud of this at the time, definitely would want to do a rehash on this now, but yeah. And yeah, this sexy view of the Heaven Gate cast. I probably touched on this a bit in Hellgate because these characters were a lot younger in Hellgate. Not sure I would include Jenny now in this because of Jenny's young age, but it's just not the way we thought about it back then. It was like, for one, I was much younger. I was much closer to these characters in age. And so even though Jenny was supposed to be 16, I was only like a few years above that, so it didn't feel that strange to me. And also I grew up with anime, which regularly put teenagers in compromising and suggestive situations for, sex appeal. And you didn't think much of it when you were also a teenager. But now that I'm 35 and I'm like, ooh, I don't like that. that makes me uncomfy. Not to mention, Hippo's only like 15 and I draw him nude all the time. Anyway. But yeah, that is Heaven Gate Act 6. Thank you for that, Redeem the Gamer Boy. Let me catch up a chat. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, make sure you hit the like button, and I'd love to read your comments below. And make sure you're subscribed so you know when the next comic goes up. Also, check the description for a playlist of any readings you may have already missed. And if you'd like to read ahead, all of these comics are free on my website, YaegerComics.com. Bye!